Hi, everybody. Welcome to I'm Just a Girl, second installment. I'm Rhonda. Hello. Anyway, again, before every show, I'm going to say we're called I'm Just a Girl because I'm just a girl. I'm not a doctor, and this is not a prescription for anything. This is just a conversation to help get some information out there to try to help everybody feel a little bit better. Okay, so as promised in the intro, I was going to start off tonight by starting the conversation of inflammation. Okay, so inflammation is your body's immune response when something happens, right? So when it goes into a healing mode or a fight mode. Okay, so if you have acute inflammation, you scratch yourself, you send immune cells to come and send redness and heal that scratch. That's acute inflammation. Goes, heals. Good. Systemic inflammation is when your body is put into a state where it cannot control its immune response. Okay, so there's a lot of ways that can happen. A newborn baby is born with 300 toxins in its body, as I mentioned in the first show. We are exposed to a lot of toxins. So our body is constantly sending a low level inflammation response to just deal with what's coming into our systems. Okay. Second, well, where we're really going to focus most of our time, because I really believe that all disease is rooted in the gut and that we can heal it starting in the gut and moving our way out. Okay. So, when it comes to how inflammation occurs and what we're doing to ourselves through food, we have 1 trillion plus bacteria living in our microbiomes. Our microbiomes is what they refer to as your gut health, right? So all the little critters living in your stomach that take in what you're ingesting for food and turn it into vitamins and minerals, identify what is going on with your body health wise, fight infection, just so many things. They whether or not you have one certain type of bacteria as opposed to another. Some people will call them fit and fat bacteria. They actually have scientific names called Firmicutes and Bacteroides, which you don't need to know. But if you have one, if your unhealthy bacteria is higher than your less healthy bacteria, you actually absorb more calories from food. So not only can the bacteria that we have in our microbiome keep us healthier, by controlling our immune response, they can keep us thinner and fitter just without any excess exercise or work, just by keeping the correct balance of bacteria in your stomach. Okay, and then on top of that, we're also producing in that bacteria. We're also producing our neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, which is how we're gonna be happy. We're gonna be happy and energized. So it's a big conversation, the microbiome, because it's not just controlling your weight. It's not just controlling your immunity, whether or not you get sick or you don't get sick. It's controlling whether or not you have mental health, whether or not you have depression, whether or not you have potential for forming dementia, Alzheimer's. So the gut and your microbiome are like the bee's knees. We got to take care of that. Okay, so how are we going to do that? I want you to imagine that your stomach lining is about the size of a tennis court when all unfolded and laid out. Okay, so that stomach lining has a lot of potential for harm to be done to it. Okay, so what we're ingesting, what we're putting into our bodies food wise, but we're eating a lot out of packages. So there's so much that's in our food that our bodies weren't built to deal with. So when you take in a food or whatever, or drink or whatever you're taking in, the cells that run along your stomach lining think of your stomach lining as like a computer, right? Your body's like a computer. And the cells on your stomach lining, they have kind of coding for what it identifies as itself or something that it knows, right? Something that it can use. And then kind of toxins, poisons that come in through our food, or things that our body just doesn't like, our body wasn't built to process, they will kind of find their way in between those cells to the weaker part, okay? So if your cells are like bricks, in between them are these junctions, these tight junctions, and that's like mortar, all right? The mortar isn't strong. So when something comes in like gluten, or tons of toxins and things that are in processed food that our bodies don't register as food and don't register as helpful, sneak through and cause small tears in between those cells, okay? When undigested food particles make it out through that mortar into the bloodstream, your body will send an immune response, okay? It will go to try to take care of that problem. I have no idea why there's undigested food in the bloodstream. What am I going to do? I'm going to send inflammation. I'm going to send an immune response. So systemic inflammation is basically our body constantly sending an immune response. So if it's not sending it after the toxins that are coming in, it's sending it after the toxins that are getting released into our bloodstream. It's sending an immune response, an inflammatory response from to all the stress that we're putting our body into, right? So we're putting our body into this constant fight or flight because we are always on our cell phone or always on our computers or always just stressing out, and we're not practicing enough techniques to take our stress down. So we're out of balance. We're definitely out of balance. So we need to do a few things. We need to try to heal the stomach lining. And there's a couple ways you can do that. I'm sure, again, as I mentioned, you're going to start to read a lot of these things. You're going to hear a lot of buzzwords, but things like bone broth, which are really good for healing the stomach lining because it's collagen, gelatin, right? And so it's going to help to rebuild those little tiny micro tears. So there's collagen powders out there that you could use. There's bone broth out there that you can use, which is great. I'm a huge fan of bone broth. And really easy to make. I'm going to help everybody make that too along the way. I want these to be short segments so that you guys keep paying attention. So I'm not going to drop a recipe on everybody right now, but if you're looking for them, I'm going to post those too. They'll just be additional to these. Okay? So, all right. So then on top of that, healing our gut lining is one, but recolonizing and making sure we're bringing up the level of good bacteria is the second thing that we want to do. So tomorrow, you got to go out and get a probiotic. You have to do it. And fermented foods are filled with probiotics. Cultured yogurts are probiotics. Kefir, I love. If you're sensitive to dairy, and dairy can cause a lot of cell wall damage for a lot of people, you might want to go with like a coconut milk yogurt to start. Okay, so those are the way that we're going to start to try to take down our systemic inflammation. Okay, so we're going to start with healing the gut lining, getting a probiotic in there. We're going to start to add in trying to take down a little bit of our stress. The other way that we're going to kill our microbiome and our good bacteria is inadequate sleep and not allowing your body to rest. And that, again, when your body doesn't get adequate sleep, it will stay in that systemic inflammatory response. So we have a lot of things to take care of here. So we got to start to take down a little bit of the toxic food that's coming into our microbiome. And in our next installment, we're going to get into which foods are really hurting the microbiome, right? Your good bacteria, and which ones are feeding the bad bacteria. It's going to be a hard one for everybody to handle, but sugar is feeding the bad bacteria. And if you have more Firmicutes than you have Bacteroides, you are going to be heavier. You and I could eat the same thing. If my good bacteria is winning the race, I'm going to be able to keep the weight off, and we can be doing the same amount of exercise and eating the same foods. So that's huge. The best study I ever heard, this group of mice, and they sweep all their bacteria with an antibiotic, and then they feed them all McDonald's for 6 weeks, and then they take half of them out, so they all get chubby, and they take half of them out, and they put them in a different cage, and they give them a probiotic with the McDonald's. And this cage full of mice gets thin just from the addition of the probiotic. Now, I'm not saying go eat McDonald's. I mean, obviously, if you're watching this, we're past that. I hope we're past that. But I am saying that the addition of things is going to help us get better. The addition of things. Everybody wants to look to what they can cut out and how they can work harder. And what I'm here to tell you is I want to help you to take your power back by adding things in and being more educated about what is happening in your body. The more inflamed you are, the more overweight you are going to prone to be. You're going to be. Okay, so and the truth of the matter is that we're creating an insulin resistance in the body. And with insulin resistance comes the potential for type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, you are 4 times more likely to have dementia or Alzheimer's. That's the truth. So, this is a huge conversation, but if you just want to start with you want to lose weight, you want to sleep better, let's start with bone broth and a probiotic tomorrow. Okay? So the next thing we're going to get into is metabolism. And that's going to be a fun one. So anyway, I hope this helps. And let me know. Have a good night. Take your power back.